Mayor's Office of Performance and Innovation, as well as our Chief Data Officer. And the presentations are together, just a FYI. And you can start whenever you're ready.
Here we are. Hello, everybody. Testing. All right, well, good afternoon, Councilwoman McCray, Council President Cohen, members of the Ways and Means Committee and City Council staff. My name is D'Artagnan Williams, and I serve as your Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of Performance and Innovation. And in this role, I serve as the city's Chief Performance Officer, where my job is to ensure that Baltimore City's services continue to improve, no matter whether or not we're operating internally or if a resident needs a service. For example, if someone calls 311, if someone applies for a permit, if someone depends on a city service such as trash or recycling, pothole repair, or even an invoice payment, that service works. Our job is to ensure that the city delivers experiences that are efficient, that are reliable, and that reflect the care and the respect that our constituents deserve. I also serve as the city's Chief Data Officer, where I'm deeply committed to transforming the city's data as a real resource for all of us, including city staff, residents, businesses, nonprofits, and others. My vision for Baltimore is for data to not just be accessible, but for it to be useful, enabling everyone to understand and tell the city's story, to build trust, to strengthen engagement, and to empower communities. Data should illuminate where we are performing well. It should highlight where we need improvement, and it should clearly demonstrate how we are all contributing to the city's growth. Open data also should be open, and it should be available to spark innovation, to power new products. It should fuel creativity, collaboration, and ultimately make Baltimore a leader in data-driven government. I am honored to speak before you today and present our fiscal year 26 budget for OPI on behalf of the city administrator. Joining me today is my dedicated leadership team and staff. Right over to my right and right behind me. I'm very thrilled to have you here. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to every single person here and every single person on the staff. You have managed and maintained resilience through all of the change, all of the challenges, and I look forward to this journey with you through the triumph. So thank you very much to my passionate and dedicated team. I'm inspired by this opportunity. Every day I wake up excited to tackle these challenges head on and ensure that our city government truly works for everyone that we serve. This is the Baltimore Renaissance. OPI is here to help guide the city there. All right, so next we will go into our slides. So my remarks for this afternoon will provide an overview of the fiscal year 26 budget for OPI, and an overview of each division, as well as their successes and future plans. And finally, I'll provide an update on the role of the Chief Data Officer. All right, so now our structure. We are a small but mighty team, and our divisions work together to achieve big outcomes for the city. When opportunities or challenges arise, they often surface through our performance division or CityStat. Once these are identified, they're prioritized and they'll flow into our civic design lab, where our civic design and data teams partner to craft human-centered solutions for the issues. So our civic design teams, they will collaborate directly with agencies and residents and frontline staff to understand and sometimes refine processes and services. They'll use agile methods to quickly test, quickly refine, and deploy solutions. Simultaneously, our data team powers the work through advanced analytics and actionable insights. This empowers our design process and is often the compass to navigate us toward diving into the highest impact problem areas and the highest impact opportunities for improvement. And throughout this life cycle, we have a project management office, and they provide disciplined project oversight and coordination. They also ensure timely delivery of complex cross-agency initiatives. So together, these divisions form an integrated performance and innovation cycle where performance identifies what is not working, the lab helps to fix it, and the PMO makes sure that the solution gets implemented and sustained. So now for our fiscal overview. Our mission is simple. Baltimore City is a data-driven government. Our goal is to help improve how we deliver services through performance, through data and design to help city staff deliver faster services in ways that residents can see and feel. It's 2025. We all use apps, we all use systems, we all use smart devices. The expectation is high. Our residents demand more, and we as a city should deliver on that expectation with less friction, with fewer delays, and with more follow-through. It really starts with getting the foundation right. This is why we have carefully selected these 3 goals for fiscal 26. And while they may seem behind the scenes, they're really at the heart of how our government functions. And if we get these right, we can unlock the capacity for the city to focus on bigger things. So going to our goals, the first is continue to modernize 311. Beyond the app and beyond basic communications, now we're focused on the handoff, the staff training, work order management, inspections, and real transparency. The second goal is to help accelerate permit reform, starting with the Excella system. The permitting process sets the tone for how businesses and developers and residents experience the city, and so we do want to ensure that that entry point is clear, user-friendly, and transparent. Lastly, Workday. Workday is a system that we use to run most of our city government operations, be it hiring, be it purchasing. This means that we want to utilize this as a platform for administrative, fiscal, and personnel operations. We want to maximize this to its full potential. This means proper reporting, stronger HR processes, capital budget management, grants, and internal workflows that work. So with this foundation in place, we can focus on delivering bold, visible improvements where our residents need them most. So the fiscal 26 recommended budget for OPI is $2.03 million. And this was curated in collaboration with the mayor's office, the city administrator's office, and our partners in BBMR. Our aspirations for this coming year include making smarter use for data across city agencies, preparing Baltimore for AI with intention and integrity, and solving some of the common and recurring operational pain points that we've experienced across the city. Through CityStat and the lab, we are tackling these issues heads on so that the city can shift its focus to the next level I mentioned earlier, accelerating progress on those big issues such as the vacant strategy, neighborhood development, attracting tourists and conventions to the city, and reclaiming our reputation as an innovative leader in local government. I want the world to watch what we do in the city. So now, we'll talk about our divisions, starting with performance management. I want to tell a little bit of a story about why this work is important to me. My journey in just government, it started many, many years ago. First as a math teacher in Chicago public schools. Then I worked at the Transit Authority, helping design bus routes for the Transit Authority. I remember being a kid, being fascinated by how cities work and how buses move. So I started a job there. I later returned to the school district, and I joined central office in a support role. My job was to fix problems. I noticed common themes, I noticed common problems, configuration, attendance code is wrong, a grade is wrong, etc. And so I figured out, what is the underlying problem? And it was configuration. So I decided to achieve solving that through automation. And I wound up automating myself out of a job. But it really turned into automating myself into an opportunity, another opportunity to solve a broader set of problems and make a broader impact. From there, I became a business analyst, then a front-end developer, then a data manager, and eventually a performance manager. In that role, my job evolved to evaluating academic programs, to planning transportation, promoting school choice, and driving improvements across the school district. That was my entry point into performance management nearly 15 years ago. I also led DC Special Ed Transportation out of a 17-year-old court receivership. And this was not done through just dashboards. This was done through transforming an entire operation, building systems and processes to track everything that we did, and proving sustained compliance with the consent decree. At that point, I stopped being a technologist. I started to be an operations leader. My roles evolved throughout the district, and my ultimate role was a leader for data operations for the city administrator in DC, powering CapStat and the lab at DC. And those experiences are what guides my work here in the city of Baltimore. So What does this mean for performance? Well, we have laid the foundation for the City Stat relaunch, and that's led by our new City Stat Director, Mr. Danny Heller, right here to my right. And now we're moving to align this work with agency performance plans. We're building data products to extend the value of CityStat even outside of sessions. One example of that is the late payments dashboard used by our agency partners regularly at DGS to manage fiscal performance. When agency leaders start to use these tools on their own, we know that they're working and we know it's time to scale. On top of that, we're working toward establishing a world-class performance management system and a world-class performance management program rooted in strategic planning, goal setting, and real accountability. A lot of this is inspired by the work in DC. We're also partnering with BBMR to work toward advancing outcome-based budgeting. I remember, Council President, there was a hearing a few days ago where you mentioned that Laura is one of the best budget directors in the country, and I agree. Laura has had this vision for years, and we are now here to help realize the notion of outcome-based budgeting in the city of Baltimore. Performance management should not live in a silo, and this is why I'm grateful for our Deputy City Administrator for bringing OPI, BBMR, the Mayor's Office, the City Council, all of us together to build a performance management system that is integrated, that is transparent, and is focused on delivering results. That is the future of performance management in this city. Up next, we'll talk about civic design and operations. This division is part of our broader civic design lab within the Office of Performance and Innovation. The goal is to come up with ways to deliver smarter solutions across city government. Our goal is to embed this design thinking into the DNA of every agency in Baltimore city government. And under the leadership of both Dr. Jason Howard and Joy Witt, we are moving toward launching cross-functional Tiger teams to tackle some of our most persistent challenges. We started with 311. We're moving into permitting, and we'll soon be moving into Workday. Ultimately, we're shifting from reactive fixes to proactive people-first service design. This work is deeply personal for me, as my background includes an undergraduate in information systems. My master's was in human-computer interaction, which we now call UX these days, and then my MBA was focused on supply chain and logistics. What this means is this has shaped the way that I lead today, thinking in systems centered around users and designing for delivery. Also, Tiger teams are not new to me. We've led many Tiger teams in past jobs, specifically maximizing revenue collection from automated traffic enforcement, EMS system reform, where once upon a time we ran out of ambulances, and also small business registration and even permit reform in a past life. And here in Baltimore, we've already delivered major projects without relying on the outside contractors, just a dedicated staff of passionate professionals committed to solving city problems. A few projects here to feature, as you know, are 311 Reimagined, the parking enforcement workflows. We've recently gotten involved in traffic calming, building data products for that, and supporting transportation with process around that. Downtown Arise is another one. One of my proudest moments, actually, maybe 2 months into Joy's time here, we had a problem. We had a problem where we needed to canvass downtown to identify broken curbs, broken sidewalks, and issues aesthetically that we needed to address. And so, how do we solve that problem? Well, Joy's team built a very lightweight canvassing app, and we got out there for 2 weekends, and we canvassed, we took photos, and we figured out what is it that the city needs to address in the downtown area, and now we can quantify issues at the block level. For a particular block, you can see how many broken curbs, how many sidewalk issues, et cetera, and can use that data to prioritize cleanliness in downtown and even engage our philanthropic partners. That, to me, is civic design in action. We like to serve as your internal consultants. We are not an outside firm. We're just a team that knows Baltimore, works alongside our agencies, and builds with and for the people we serve. Up next is our Data and Analytics Division. This is also part of our Civic Design Lab, and it exists to make data more meaningful and accessible and actionable for internal operations and for the public. My background spans 13 years in local government, and then I took 7 away. In the private sector, where I saw firsthand how data, when used smartly, designed well, and executed flawlessly, can help transform how organizations operate. At the largest scientific research organization in the world, we use data to power membership marketing, develop new membership products, and generate new revenue streams for the organization. At Meta, behavioral insights help drive a $7 billion revenue fundraising goal across both Facebook and Instagram. And at my last startup, I led platform engineering that expanded us from a consumer-facing product all the way to the Department of Defense, built through a product built on strong, smart architecture and scalable data systems. We did not have a lot of money. We designed and architected well, and that allowed for us to grow. These methods work in industry, and I believe that they can work as well in government. This is why I have returned to local government. I believe that local government is a place where data and innovation actually matters most. In Baltimore, as the city, we are now ready to lead. We are not just building dashboards. We are solving real problems and improving the way that the city operates every day. So on the board, you see a few projects. I'll zero in on just a handful. For example, through this process, water billing coordination. We notice water billing issues. The residents, the agencies are not paying themselves. Well, this is a pretty intense problem to solve that involves looking at data, that involves attaching the proper meters to the proper agencies, that involves reconciling calls, that involves getting agencies to talk to each other. Through this process, our team was able to accomplish that and get the various agencies involved to figure out what they owe and come up with creative solutions to get the city to pay itself. And when the city pays itself, that opens us up to extend that to the residents as well and gain trust back into the water billing process. Through this, we also discovered a number of vacant properties with regular water use. And what that led to was us partnering with the housing department, sending our inspectors to confirm that these properties that are tagged as vacants actually have someone occupying them and shutting off water at unoccupied vacants that still have water running. What happened there is that generated at least $1.4 million in cost savings for the city, and that's just through the shutoffs that we've been able to coordinate to date. We've also left the data product behind so that anyone that's interested in exploring this further can look into the properties, look into the water activity, look when it started, look when it was shut off, and get additional information. I'll quickly talk about TaxSale, which is a strong partnership with us, the Department of Finance, as well as BSIT. This year, we've also worked very closely with the teams to ensure that the data is of quality, to ensure that we understand what is going up for TaxSale and deliver a product to allow for both BSIT and the Department of Finance to tell stories about it. I think we delivered one to City Council as well. The point is we want to make our work visible, we want to make our work impactful and transparent, and leave behind products for people to interact with it. Lastly, we got another project that came to us for ADA compliance, and this is really because of our track record of being able to execute on complex initiatives with quality, precision, and care. I'm pleased to announce that we've been working with the Law Department and the Department of Transportation and are well on track to delivering the product for the plaintiffs, actually ahead of schedule, next month in July. Lastly, this is important. Our partners in the Department of General Services is partnering with us to build out a data warehouse. Rather than build in and bring external consultants in to start from scratch, we're building on top of our existing infrastructure. This will save millions of dollars in this operation and will also set the stage for additional agencies to fold into this foundation. Data is not just information. Data is infrastructure, and it helps us understand insights across the city to control costs and ultimately deliver better services. That is what we do on this team every day. Next, we'll talk about program management. This is our PMO. As we know, every challenge that we experience in the city is not in the silo. So if it's illegal dumping, if it's hiring someone, if it's promoting youth safety, these are all cross-agency initiatives. The days of working in silos are over. So that is why we have launched the Project Management Office to keep our cross-agency efforts aligned. The PMO is helping us do that. We're institutionalizing project and program management and incorporating that discipline into our work to ensure follow through on our high impact work. It's a skill set I've developed over time, and studies show that it's a skill set that is lacking in local government, which is another reason why we're working hard to fill that gap. This group doesn't just manage large-scale projects, it also gets our internal operations in order. So if that means staff training, if it means our office space, if it means internal tools like SharePoint or our intranet or our website content, that is how our PMO helps keep this group afloat. They also lead our knowledge management efforts because we do not want for our momentum to disappear if there's a leadership transition. I want the next person in this seat to pick right up where we left off. The city administrator has a very strong vision for the city, and while she builds out her team, we are her people. We are the ones that she can rely on to execute.
Sir, can you close out within 2 minutes? Thank you.
And sustainably. Okay, so then lastly, my next slide is on the role of the Chief Data Officer. So since I joined the city 9 months ago, I've worked really hard to serve the residents, serve the people, and understand how data is managed and used across our government. We rely on timely and dependable and actionable data to make informed decisions. I hear requests for data, even through this forum, all the time. Without this infrastructure, system launches will be challenging, integrations will continue to face hurdles, and reporting will be cumbersome. We want to prioritize a modern citywide data warehouse as a foundational investment to just streamline reporting and make data accessible to all across the city. I'll fast forward a little bit to what we're doing around AI readiness. We're also positioning the city to be ready to gracefully adopt AI. We are not just catching up, we're preparing for what's already here. So once our data foundation is strong, we can responsibly embrace the future with AI. As a matter of fact, we are partnering right now with Google to lead the city's first citywide AI forum, and that is focusing on what is next, equitable AI adoption, building the guardrails so that when this is embedded in all city operations, it's done thoughtfully and carefully. There are 2 projects that we can talk through in the Q&A, specifically around using AI for legal dumping detection, as well as to make 311 service request communications more user-friendly. So to conclude, I love the work that we do. I love the impact that we're making. Every one of us on this team brings something unique and something different to the work. I think it takes a very special person to lead this type of work, someone who's been there, who's unshaken, who's willing to get in the mud and bring love and joy into the work. That is the leader that you have in me. That is the leadership that you have in my team. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity to testify before you today. I want to thank the city administrator for trusting me with this role, our deputy city administrator as well for her leadership and performance. Terrence is here. Terrence is here. Yes, hi Terrence. I wanted to thank you as well. And Laura for holding me down from day one. I really appreciate the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We truly appreciate the passion that you have for your work. I love folks who love their job. And we can see that every time we speak with you. And I'm gonna stop there. So I have 2 quick questions about performance measures, and these are probably easy questions. For the first item under Service 903, the number of agencies participating in city stat meetings, we have it at FY24 is 27. So I guess I'm trying to understand, if we have 27 agencies that were participating, why is the target in FY26 15?
I got a couple of answers to that. Previously, so we do both agency-based stats and also issue-based stats. And some of our issue-based stats involve multiple agencies. Throughout this year, we are now launching a broader set of agency-based stats. What that means is we want to run city stat sessions specifically focused on Department of Transportation, Department of Housing, Department of Public Works, et cetera. The number 27 is not necessarily a primary participant, it's more of a agency that has joined an issue-based stat. So we wanted to focus on hard numbers that speaks to stats that are specifically designed to engage agencies for that target. Does that answer your question?
It doesn't. I still don't understand it. So how many agencies are, I get that we have multiple agencies within certain stats. So are you talking about the main agency that's within the stat? Like,
Well, a better way to describe this would be, the number of stats that are specifically designed to address a particular agency's performance. So focus specifically, a stat focus on housing, a stat focus on public works, a stat focus on the Department of Health. We believe that's a more accurate way to track participation and impact as it relates to the city stat program.
that gets me closer to my answer. Let's get to that second stat question. I want to make sure my other colleagues have time to get their questions answered as well. The average number of city stat meetings per quarter. Knowing that you have a ton of city stats, can you explain to me why that number is going down as well?
Well, let's get into that. The number of city stat sessions, we actually do not anticipate going down. We anticipate those going up. The reason why we anticipate those going up is because we are launching more city stat sessions this year. Specifically, this year, we've launched already finance stat. We are also launching a housing stat later this summer. We're launching BSID stat. We're launching DPW stat, and I'll take a look to find the rest of the stats that we're launching. But we do not anticipate that going down. We anticipate that going up.
So do you need to adjust your performance measures?
Yes, I think we do need to adjust our performance metrics because we want more involvement in stat coming up this year, not less. We're launching more stats and not the other way around.
Okay, so can you guys take a look at it and get us the accurate number for your FY2026 target?
Sure, no problem. I can also just share with you the number of stats that we plan to have active by the end of this year.
Yeah, if you know how many stats on the average number of city stat meetings you guys are going to have per quarter that reflect the performance measure that's here, that'll be great.
Yeah, by the end of this year, we'll have 18 stats running. Well, that's 13 agency-based and 5 issue-based stats. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to redefine some of the metrics that we have published. And mainly, I think many of those metrics were published before we created this new stat schedule. So just so you know, we'll have 18 stats running by the end of this year. Quite frankly, by the fall, we'll have those running.
Director, I would just love, and maybe this is not for you, but for the CAO's office, that these items are updated. And you know, in the past, I've been, hey, what our performance goals, what our agency performance measures. I just want to make sure that this information is accurate and that we are striving. We're striving for what our residents need, and I just think it should be reflected in the data that's given to us.
Sure, Chairman Cray, if I could, again, Shamaya Kearney, Deputy City Administrator. Again, as we talked about during the City Administrator's hearing, we have an intentional focus on our performance management as well. And so while this year you may not see reflections and changes to some of the performance metrics or some of the targets, there will be intentional efforts over this summer to do that work hand in hand with agencies. In addition to some of the work around some of the metrics, I think we also want to get a better understanding of how our agencies are calculating their metrics as well, right? And so we are going to be working with agencies to do what I'm going to call a methodology plan, which is for all of our agencies to provide us with information on their numerator, denominator, the source of their data, things of that nature, so that we have all of those things documented. We'll be working in partnership with BBMR as well as OPI to make sure that we have all of that information documented to feed into the performance plan. I also know that you shared in prior hearings that you would like to see a more aesthetically pleasing and a more aesthetically pleasing and a easily understandable plan as well. And so we'll be working on that over the summer as well. Some of the other cities with which we consider ourselves to be peers, we've taken some time and some energy to look into some of their plans, and we'll be making those adjustments in FY27. So while we may not be able to get everyone there for FY27, we will start to make that shift in the coming year, and so you will see that reflective in our next budget.
I appreciate you. I didn't dig into performance plans this budget season. I didn't raise that question a ton of times, but when you tell me that something is going to get done, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to go to Council President Cohen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, D'Artagnan, for your work. I want to reiterate what my chair said in that we appreciate your passion, and I'm just pumped that you're here in Baltimore. Props to you, props to City Administrator Leach for recruiting you. We need help in this area, and so there's been a lot of turnover in this space, and so having you here and stay here is really helpful to the City of Baltimore. My one ask before I ask my questions is that you work directly with Councilmember Conway, who used to be a city stat analyst and who has a lot of great thoughts around this work. The more you're able to collaborate with the council, particularly our former stat analyst, the better off we're going to be. So I'd appreciate that. Two questions. One, artificial intelligence. I heard citywide forum. I heard some thoughts on it. I think AI is both an incredibly powerful tool and also a potential threat to our workforce, to the way everything in Baltimore and in, frankly, the world is happening, right? It is going to radically change the way we do business in cities across the United States of America. And we need to be ahead of that curve. We need to own the future. I know that Johns Hopkins is planning an AI center. They're doing a lot of work in this space, but it is critically important that not only are we understanding the technology and utilizing it to improve things like 311, which I heard you mention, but that we're thinking about the ethical implications. And when it comes to like our labor workforce, that we are thinking about how workers are going to be displaced by technology, and that we double and triple down on our commitment to workers in this city and don't just leave them behind as the technology moves forward. Can you comment on that part of sort of the AI curve that may not be here next year, but will probably be here within the next couple of years, where we are going to start to see major sectors and industries be completely disrupted?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are a couple of things. So starting to your point, making sure that the city is ready. This is part of the reason why we are starting this AI research at this juncture. Not only to explore the use cases, but also to ensure that our city infrastructure is sound for the purposes of embracing it. There are a couple of things that are top of mind right now. While AI could and does have the potential to displace some jobs, we look at it in a different way, in that it adds additional capacity to provide automated service responses. It adds capacity to handle clerical and administrative tasks to free up staff to be able to do other things. So a couple of examples of that are as simple as meeting transcriptions. A couple of examples of that another use case that came up is transcribing board meetings and other forums to automatically generate action items. And then the third one that is light touch is utilizing AI to serve as a chatbot to get general information about the city. To answer your question about job displacement, when you think about the services that we provide, I think that what will likely happen is it will serve as almost a force multiplier rather than a replacement for staff, especially given that it has the potential to free up human beings from administrative and/or clerical tasks that gives us the opportunity to focus on activities we may not have had the resources for in the past. And so I do look at it as a positive thing, and I do think that it's important for us to get ahead of the unknowns now so that we can understand what this will look like for us even as early as a year from now.
I hope so, but I don't fully buy that. I'm not as much of a techno optimist as I think that you are. And so I'm going to be in the next year or so looking to work with the administration on just guaranteeing that we're not significantly displacing our workforce and working as well with our labor unions, making sure they're part of that conversation, because I fully agree with you. I think there is enormous potential for artificial intelligence to be a force multiplier, but I am deeply concerned about the medium to longer term impacts on workers. Leave it there. Second question, you mentioned permits and specifically the Acela system in your workflow. I'm glad to hear it is there, as has been stated previously in hearings, which I know you've been watching on Charm TV. The permitting system is frankly on fire right now. The comment that developers and home builders are making to us is that it has never been worse. So we're really hoping it's sort of one step forward, 2 steps back, and then like 10 steps forward again. We heard in one of our city agencies, the fire department, some very significant changes that they've made in the fire marshal's office to address this issue. But I'm curious, D'Artagnan, for you, what does it look like to begin to fix what feels like a very, very broken system? Because if we do not do that, the mayor's goal of rehabilitating vacant houses, as well as just about everything else in terms of economic development, is for naught.
It is going to be complicated. At the core of it, though, based on what I've observed so far, while we do have process issues, the big bulk of it is the technology. And with the technology itself, meaning how does information move in and out of Acela? How does it integrate with other systems, specifically around fire code inspections? How do people interact with the app? Is it user-friendly, et cetera, et cetera? These things are configurable. These things are codable. I understand that there may be concerns around the vendors and their capabilities, but I and my team are very strong at understanding systems and working with data. I've seen interfaces. I've worked with just about every system, and so none of this is a surprise to me. Every challenge that I've encountered, especially in government, that most have deemed impossible, we've been able to find a way through it. What that means for permitting is, I think step one is really diving into and understanding what are we asking vendors to do and how are we asking vendors to execute on this, and to bring a lot of that capacity in-house, much like 311. And so long as we get a strong handle on the technology and the integrations, I think a lot of our progress on permitting will be unblocked. We spend a lot of time defining processes and doing the upfront work to prepare for the implementation. The problem is the execution of that implementation has not been the most graceful. And this, as a city, I think we could do a stronger job at having the capability in-house in order to handle these technical problems gracefully. All that said, I understand the concerns. I understand how bad it is. I'm a little bit less worried about getting involved in it because I know the space. So I know it sounds. I hope that makes you feel confident. But I'm not worried about
Well,
permitting.
look, I'll say this. I know myself, Councilmember Ramos, Councilman Torrance, in this hearing that we all held, it is of relief that this is something that you are focusing on. Excited to have you putting your brain against it. What I will say, and then I'm gonna close, is two things. One, I'll repeat a comment that was made during that hearing, which is don't boil the ocean. 48-point plans. We have, as I've said to you in private, we have a lot of plans in this city. To execute on the things that need to be fixed quickly, like get some wins and then keep it moving. Otherwise, you're going to get mired in this whole thing. And the last thing I'll say is the one piece I would push back on a little bit. Look, we heard for over a year that it was a technology problem and that technology would fix it and that bringing on the e-permit Acela system was going to solve our permitting problems, and it has not. Technology is only as good as the people and the capacity behind the technology. And so I would just caution you to just be careful about overly ascribing our challenges to technology, because folks have done that in the past and it's led us to where we are now. I will not disagree that the tech needs to get fixed and the vendors and the this and that, but I think it is more of a operations challenge than just a technology challenge.
I definitely agree with that. And just to clear that up, I am not undermining or diminishing the process. That's very, very important. I am aware of some of the work that's happened on the process front, which is why I'm zeroing in a little bit more on technology. Even if we redefine operations today, the changes are not supported in the systems, right? And so that's, that's where sort of process and operations doesn't meet technology. But I do feel confident that we can figure out ways to ensure that the workflows in the system support the operation.
Understood. Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair and Deputy Administrator.
Yes, so just want to acknowledge again, we've talked about this in the city administrator's hearing, we talked about this in the DACD hearing, and now we're talking about it again, that we fully acknowledge that it is not just a technical issue. We understand that there is some training that has to happen. We understand that there are some process improvements that need to happen. We understand that there is some streamlining that needs to happen. And we understand that those processes and procedures need to translate into the technology so that we have a better system. So I don't want to leave anyone with the impression that we are only focusing on the tech. We are focusing on all of it. We understand that there are problems with all of it. There are multiple components that are challenged, and as you heard Commissioner Kennedy also talk about, that there are some things that were known, but that because there was some unlimited testing that was done, and that those challenges manifested once we rolled the system out. And then there were also some things that weren't known until the system was rolled out. So we are documenting, we are categorizing and cataloging all of those things, and we will take a multi-pronged approach. So it is not just the tech. We understand that tech is part of it, but we are looking at this from multiple perspectives. So I wanted to make sure that I don't leave anyone with the impression that that's all we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Administrator. I really appreciate that clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and thank you, Deputy Administrator. We're going to be in recess until 6 p.m. Thank you for joining us today. Next up at 6 p.m. is going to be the Enoch Pratt Free Library.